Today, we are going to talk about a very specific new opportunity which is coming up for many compliance professionals, and that is in the field of lending. Yes, you heard it right. Traditionally, we know that only the banks and the NBFCs can lend. However, what we have observed is that banks and NBFCs sometimes could not provide or innovate lending product. They could not bring the speed in which these loans can be offered to the customer. They are failing to provide the convenience for the customer to access this credit. Now, whenever these banks and more so sometimes NBFCs are not able to innovate and bring out the products which could be offered to the customer in their real use case scenario, maybe in the e-commerce segment, maybe in case of a education segment. In that case, the financial technology companies, what we call fintech companies, actually play a vital role.
फिनटेक स्पेस में $31 बिलियन से ज्यादा का निवेश हुआ है। दस साल में हमारे फिनटेक स्टार्टअप में 500% वृद्धि हुई है।
And I want to today tell you that when all the financial technology companies, the fintech companies, started coming into the foray of the lending, the biggest concern which the regulator had with them, especially the RBI, because RBI regulates the lending in India, was, are they regulated? Do they have the license to give the loan? Can they do credit risk assessment? Can they do credit evaluation? Can they access the bureau? Can they do the CIBIL check? How they will disburse the loan? What is the arrangement for the disbursement? How the repayment will happen? How the entire credit reporting will happen? All these were concerns which regulator had in that case. Now, whenever any loan is given in an online environment, that loan generally presumes to be called as digital lending or a digital loan, because here no papers are involved per se. Everything happens online. The customer who is an e-commerce website, or maybe he's an education website where he's purchasing some content, he wants to actually avail and make the payment. Sometimes they do not have the options to make the payment, they would access various credit options available in the purchase journey from the e-commerce or from the education industry or from any other such marketplaces or online websites. Now what happens is that these fintechs who were operating with various banks and NBFC to bring them as a lender in the platform, and then they can enable the feature of the smooth loan journey for the customer, where these fintechs may not have the license to give the loan, but they become loan service provider, LSP, in the digital loan journey, or as a digital lending app, DLA, in the journey, because they give the app also for the customer to easily access the credit, whereas actual lender or the loan provider in the books used is the banks and NBFCs. So therefore, these digital lending guidelines were quite impressive, quite encouraging for the entire ecosystem. Before the guidelines have come, there was no clarity in terms of who will be called what. There was no ownership of the roles and responsibility or who will play that role. After the digital lending guidelines have come, there are three main roles we will dissect. Role number one, the main lender, which could be a bank or NBFC. Here, actual credit assessment, credit evaluation, sanctioning, terms of sanctions, interest rate, APRs, key fact statements, all are actually vetted and done by the bank or the NBFC, including the KYC. So therefore, the main ownership of the loan, retail loan book, is of the bank or NBFC. Second role comes to the LSP. The LSP is a fintech, which is also now a quasi-regulated entity, which has to support this journey to the bank in their platform to the customer, which could be helping in onboarding, helping in documentation, helping in KYC, not actually owning the KYC, but only helping in the journey to the bank for the KYC, helping in sanctioning process, helping in reconciliation process. And then third role comes in DLA, with this app provider who actually gives his app. So RBI in these lending guidelines have clearly articulated the roles of all three entities. Because of these guidelines, there's an ample clarity in terms of how the loan can be offered to the Indian customer in the digital world after a lot of debacle which happened because of wrong fair practices code happened on the lending side during the COVID times. So I think with these guidelines, the much needed clarity is available. Thanks for watching the Upskill School.